Hey, welcome back to my series on building the New Perspectives Music kit guitar. I think this is going to be the final video in this series, although I'm sure we'll be doing some updates in the future. But if you've been following along, I have over at newperspectivesmusic.com some digital CNC files that are downloadable, so you can make all these parts and cut them yourself on the CNC, or you can buy the physical templates as like router templates and make them that way, or you can just buy the parts pre-made by me here at my shop and then do the final finish and assembly and stuff on your own. I'm trying to make it something that's, no matter what tooling level you're at or what expertise level you're at, you can make your own guitar. I just finished mine. I'm going to show you the rest of the steps here in this last video about kind of laying out the body, putting it together, finishing it, and setting it up. That's what we're going to do now. And let's just jump in. I'll catch you at the end. I've got the neck done over there, and I am going to fit it to this body. I'm going to put all of my hardware and stuff on and fit it and make sure it's all going to line up and look okay. Then take it all off, finish sanding this, get some finish on it, and then we'll be able to put together our guitar. First, I wanted to line my neck up in my pocket and pre-drill those holes to hold the neck screws, but as you can see here, the screws that I have on hand are a little bit too tall for the guitar neck and body design that I have, and it's because I'm not using a plate, but I'm using those recessed ferrules, so they make the screws stick out further. So there you can see, if I just went and didn't check this, I might have had that come right through the fingerboard, which would be a disaster. So instead of getting new screws, I just simply sanded the tips off of the screws. It's always a good idea to check this stuff because, you know, it's really easy to make mistakes like that. And now with the screws just ground down a little bit shorter, I can line up my neck and use an awl to find the center on the neck. And then I was very careful to set a stop on my drill press so I didn't drill all the way through, and I used a drill bit that was just a little bit smaller than the screws I want to use, so they'll have something to grab onto. And then I just put one screw in just to sort of check it and make sure everything looked good, to use it that way to line up my guitar. Here you can see I'm masking off my guitar, and I have this kind of cool tool that I built using two rulers, but you could just do it with one rule on either side. And I went and I drew my whole neck angle and marked where my bridge is going to go at about 25.5 inches from the nut, and used my center square, of course, to find the center of my guitar as well, and just sort of checked all this math like 600 times to make sure the center was actually centered between the two edges of the neck. Here you can see I'm checking it again, comparing it to the pickup and everything, and I want to really make sure I line all this up perfectly before I set my bridge on. So now I'm using a ruler again, and I'm checking my bridge because it's real easy to just make it a little bit too close, because when I measured that 25.5 inches before, I was doing it flat, but now the strings are up higher and at an angle, so they're actually going to be a little bit longer. And so I want to set my bridge so it's at that 25.5 inch line, but maybe just a little bit behind it, and then I can use my intonation to adjust it all later. And I also want to set up some holes to run the strings through the body, which is what I was just doing there by continuing those lines. I could have gone one size smaller because these are actually a little bit loose, so that was my bad. But what I'm going to do is just put a tiny bit of glue in there with them, and that'll make sure they're still. Plus, when you have the bridge on, the tension's pushing down, they're not going to move on you. But it is nice to have these little kind of teeth that are designed to, you know, kind of hammer in and tap themselves in. So don't do 15-30 seconds. Go down to 29/64. You don't want to make them too tight though, because then you'll crack it. Now the strings go over this bridge, and like on Les Pauls, there's like a tail piece that holds the strings in place, which you could put here. You'd have to drill a couple more holes, put a couple more posts. You could put like a Bigsby style tremolo. What I want to do is I want to do a string through body. I have these little string ferrules here that I will put in the backside of the body that will run the string up through the back. Whoops. Run the string up through the back over the bridge, and that's about it. So here's my big pet peeve with this. I can sit and I can measure out perfectly 6 holes all in a line, and then I have to drill this little skinny hole over on my drill press, and I can go nice and slow. And you'll see when people make guitars all the time, if they don't do this on the CNC and they do it by hand, 99% of the time in the back, these are not lined up because drill bits dodge and bend under pressure sometimes, so you'll always end up having like one that's just like a little bit off like that or something instead of being perfectly straight, and it drives me crazy. So what I do to avoid that is I don't make it straight. So if there is any of that like drill bit deflection, it won't be noticeable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign each of these its own location. Do something fun like that. Maybe I'll go back a little further with all of them, so I don't have to worry about it. So if something gets a little bit off, it doesn't matter. You know, where I'm going to put these little ferrules, I want to have a 1/4-inch hole that I can recess this into. But on the front, I don't want the hole that big. It only has to be big enough for the thickest string, which is 0.046 inches or whatever. So that means I'm going to use a fairly small drill bit, like this 3/32, for example, is 0.09. So that's plenty. But that's why you have to worry about that deflection, right? Because these things just drift. They just bend and drift a little bit, no matter how slow you go and your drill press. To help eliminate some of that deflection, you can see I just took very small bites and kept backing it out, so I wasn't forcing my way down. I figured that if only a little bit is drilling at a time, it's less likely to go the wrong direction. Now I just have one last hole to drill. I want to drill from the bridge into the cavity, so I can put a ground wire that's touching the bridge and connecting all the strings. I'm going to use this one. You can kind of get away with a regular drill bit sometimes, but it's definitely easier with a long one. So hopefully I hit it. I hit it good. Perfect. Now I'm ready to peel the tape off and sand this thing up and get it to finish. It's up to you how crazy you want to get with the finish. Some people really enjoy the process. I just sand it to about 320, and here I'm using a little bit of colored water to raise the grain before I sand it again, and that color just sort of helps make that grain look a little interesting. And now after I've sanded it to 320, raised the grain, sanded it to 320 again, I went and I cleaned it off, and I used a little bit of linseed oil to soak into that wood before finishing it. Okay, so we finished the neck with my new favorite natural earth paint varnish. I like the look and feel, and I was going to use it on the body, but I actually want to do something different for this body. I just feel like this is a Rubio monocoat kind of body. And this is like, what's nice about this is it doesn't even look like there's anything on there. And it's just an oil conditioner that works pretty good. Obviously, there's a million other ways you can finish it with spraying and brushing and all that stuff too. I would just suggest, like, please don't use any of the bad stuff. Try to use the clean stuff. Like the water-based stuff works great. It takes that, if you want like that hard glossy finish, you can do it with that just as well as the stuff that, destroys the ozone. So in order to finish this, I have this piece of scrap wood with just a hole drilled in the top. This hole can go over a nail and hang this up. I'm just going to take 2 sheetrock screws and run them through just 2 of these holes into this piece of wood. They're going to be longer than the piece of scrap wood, so be careful not to. I'm just being careful not to put them in my fingers. And now, once this guitar is on this handle, I can hold it and maneuver it and hang it and let it dry and stuff. This Rubio finish is very expensive, but a little bit goes a long way, and you can see it's a 3-to-1 ratio. I just literally did 3 teaspoons to 1, and that was enough to do this whole guitar. Now here's a word from our sponsor. Hey guys, I'm super excited to tell you about this new product I found. Can't even do it with a straight face. No, I'm not going to do that. I never do that in my videos. Thanks to the support I get over at patreon.com/TimSway, as well as my customers over at newperspectivesmusic.com and squaretools.com. They keep this channel going. Not a bunch of BS products that nobody really cares about or wants, and those companies are probably going to be gone in a year anyway. So, back to the show. Normally I do my own wiring and I buy all the parts in bulk, but thinking about the people that might be building these guitar kits, this is a really economical way to go, and it's a lot easier than buying all the parts individually. I bought a pre-wired kit. So here I'm lining the cavity with some copper foil. You can also use aluminum foil and spray glue if you don't want to buy this copper foil for shielding. That'll work a little bit. And just installing this kit, which I just need to solder my pickups to. I'm going to put in the description of this video some links to some of the products I used on this guitar, and they're not affiliate links. I don't do that sort of stuff. And these are some homemade knobs that I made for the guitar. The string ferrules just tapped right in those 1/4-inch holes, and then I just double checked my pickups to make sure I didn't mix them up, because the neck pickup has poles that are slightly closer together than the bridge pickup because the strings do spread out. And plus, they're usually wound a little bit differently. So that's what I was just measuring, and then I ran the wires through into the cavity and mounted my pickups, and now I'm ready to finish my wiring. I also ran a ground wire to that bridge post. Remember we drilled that hole a few minutes ago? You can see I used the same color wires when I made those pickups, and what I did when I just pushed them through is I snipped the end of the bridge pickup so I would know which one's which, whereas this one is still stripped, so that way I wouldn't confuse them. So my 2 reds are my leads, and they need to go to the lead positions there and there, and then these are grounds, and you see there's a little spot I can put the grounds here, but they don't have to go there. All the grounds connect everywhere, so I could just put my grounds right down onto that cap there, which is what I'll probably do. So in order to not confuse myself, I'm going to take this one that I have already stripped that I know is my neck position and solder that on first before stripping the other one. Now before I close this all up and put it away, I'm just going to plug into my little test amp here. And I got noise, that's a good sign. We got front pickup, back pickup, both pickups, volume, tone, everything works good. Sometimes instead of drilling pilot holes for these little short screws, I just use my awl. Just jam it in there, and that's enough to get that started. Oops. My center square comes in handy for finding like the center of the side of the guitar for putting your strap holders on. Another shameless plug. And the tuners are pretty easy to put in. They just put them in the hole, and there's a little threaded insert that puts it together. I always kind of get them on finger tight first, and then I line them up so they're all facing the way I want them to face before I add that set screw to the back and then tighten them down. When we cut this neck pocket, we cut it flat like a Stratocaster style neck, but I'm using this Tune-O-Matic bridge, which does like to have the neck at a slight angle. So I want to give it just a little bit of a shim right here in the front. And I'm just going to use a business card, which is like a piece of cardboard, and the thickness of that is pretty much all I need to just lift this front. And I like to use my business card because then it has my name on it. So, you know, years from now, if someone opens it up, they know that it was me that did it. That should be enough to just give me that slight angle that I want. I'm going to add just one tiny, tiny drop of super glue to this nut, just to keep it still, but not so much that I can never get it out again. So just that one little tiny drop right there. I have 2 strings on with just a little bit of tension on them, and they're fretting out, which is perfect because this is all the way down, and I wanted to be able to bring it up and have some room to adjust. So you never want to set it at its extremities. You always want to have a little bit of room to work in every direction. We need to make sure there's enough back pressure here so the string doesn't fall out of the nut. And with this 3x3 head, I'm probably going to be able to get away with just using one of these little, just 2 string trees just up here to push these 2 down. I think that all of these strings are going to be okay. I think they're going to be close enough and not too loose. Okay, so we got some strings on it. We have her tuned up, so we're done, right? Not quite. We still have to do our final setup on this instrument, and that just basically entails getting our string height even and consistent in a good spot along the neck. We want to get our neck straightened to where we want it, and might need to set the height of our pickups a little bit, and we also need to intonate the instrument by adjusting the string length to micromanage any imperfections in strings, etc., and make this thing play perfectly in tune. Now we're using our special notched ruler again. Make sure I get the right scale side, and we're putting that right over the frets. And I talked about this in earlier videos. You can go check that out. But so what I can do with this is I can put it on the neck and I can see if it's perfectly flat or if there are some gaps somewhere. And right now it's looking like it's pretty much dead flat to me. I'm not seeing any light. Okay, I'm seeing a little bit of light. Let me see if I can show you that on the camera. See, there's just a little bit of light right in the middle of the neck there, right underneath that. Sort of right there. So that means that the neck has just a slight bow going down like this from the tension of the strings, which is pretty much where most people would want it. Turn our truss rod, and I'm just going to turn this truss rod to the left. Now we'll take a look and see if it looks any different. And I like that. I'm going to leave it where it is. Let me see if I can get you to see it. See, it just bows down just a tiny, tiny bit in the middle, but it's pretty consistent. Now let's check our string height. I'm going to check it off the 12th fret with this with my little perfect ruler that I sell at Square Tools. And you can see here that I am at just about 2/32. That's tough to see. I'm just about 2/32 of an inch above the string, or above the fret on the 12th fret, which is exactly where I want to be. Now, if I needed to make it go higher or lower, like I can lower this here. So now you'll see, if we come back here, our string is like less than 1/32 above, which you might think is nice, but then you get a little more buzz. It's getting better. I'm going to leave it there for now. I've got pretty low action right now going across the board. It's a little bit less than 2/32 of an inch all the way around. And we'll see if we can leave it set up there and make it work. Now I also want to get my pickups nice and close to the strings. I want to make sure if I play the highest note, when I pluck the string, it doesn't hit the pickup. Lefty-loosey to lower it. Like that. I'm doing a really quick overview of the setup. There are other videos out there about setting up guitars, and if there's enough interest, from people that know better than me too, if there's enough interest in that, if you guys want me to do a really in-depth setup video, I can do that. But so now what I want to do is intonate it, and what intonating means is getting the whole string to be in tune everywhere you play it. And I'm going to start by, I have this really fancy strobe tuner. You don't need this. You can literally download something on your phone that's going to work just as good as this. So first thing I want to do is I want to tune the open string so the strobe is moving as little as possible. And then, so I got that looking pretty good. Now I'm going to check the harmonic at the 12th fret. See, it's pretty still. It looks like it's a little bit flat. Now it's a little sharp. So now we can see I've got this really well in tune. You can see by how still that graphic is. But now what I want to do is I want to play the note here at the 12th fret, not the harmonic, and actually push the note down and play it. And I can see it's going that way, so it's a little bit flat. So since it's a little bit flat, that means that the string is a little bit too long. So I need to shorten it up a little bit, and I need to turn the screw right here to move the saddle toward, and this is one of the things I don't like about these bridges. You have to kind of loosen the string, get it off there, and then I can, lefty-loosey the screw to get it to be a little closer to the neck. I have to tune it again. Looks pretty good to me. So then I go through all the strings, and maybe I'll go through them twice. I'll tune it up, I'll play it, I'll see if anything sounds really bad. I'll randomly check some notes on the fingerboard and sort of spot check and kind of work that a little bit. And it takes some time, and it's really boring to film. So I'm going to keep doing it with the camera off. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play every single note on the guitar to see if there's any weird buzzes anywhere. That's my amp that's buzzing. It's like a sympathetic vibration. A little bit of a buzz right there, so I might need to clean up a fret in this area. Sounds pretty good. I'm going to let it sit for a few days before I do anything with the frets and see where the neck settles. And check the volume balance between these two pickups. Like if one is noticeably quieter, I might want to raise that one up or lower the other one to get them to be kind of consistent. It's pretty good. Check my tone knob roll down. I want to make sure the strings can bend. There's no like weird sort of dead spots anywhere. Sounds pretty good. Cool, now I get to do the best part. I get to play it and have fun with it for a few days. I'm gonna let it sit under tension. I'm gonna mess around with it for a few days. I'm not gonna do anything drastic or any changes. I'm not gonna file any frets right now. See how it plays in 3 days. See how it plays in a week. See if I need to adjust the truss rod. See if everything sits okay, and then make my adjustments accordingly once it settles in and gets used to being a guitar. This guitar is set up beautifully, plays beautifully. I think it sounds pretty damn good, and I'm really, really happy with it. And I can't wait. I can't wait to start seeing some of your finished guitars. You have to share the pictures with me on social media and stuff so I can see what yours look like. And also feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And I hope that this video series was interesting and entertaining for all of you, but I also hope that it was interesting and entertaining for other people that aren't using this kit, because there's a million ways to do all these steps. These are the way that I'm doing them right now. It may change in the future. This is the way I make a guitar right now, and if you're looking to make a guitar even without my kit, just from scratch, I think that this video series will be beneficial to you. And I hope you enjoyed it, even if it's just for chuckles, just to watch it and have fun. Like I said, I might film an update. If anybody has any really specific questions that I missed in this series, you can ask me, and maybe I'll compile them and do like a Q&A type thing. We'll see. But obviously it's not my last video on YouTube, so I'm going to be making a ton more of them there. And again, as always, if you like this content and you like the fact that I keep it almost always ad-free, you can like, share, and subscribe, and you can join me on Patreon at patreon.com/TimSway, or purchase from one of my stores. That's how I stay in business, man, by people buying these kits and these guitars. Thanks a lot, and be good.